That's on ESPN2. Leading into that is our ESPN Plus card. 5 exciting bouts loaded with some newcomers to the ESPN and the PFL. Antonio Carlos Jr. versus Tom Lawler in our featured bouts on the ESPN Plus card. Shoeface is a heavy favorite there. I'm Sean O'Connell. Welcome to Professional Fighters League action. I am joined by Randy, the natural couture, and of course, Kenny Florian. We're back to back to back for regular season action. And Randy, in week 1, it was all about the upset.
Absolutely. We had 2 of our 2-time champs and the long-awaited Anthony Pettis go down last week. Bubba Jenkins getting it done with Lance Palmer. The long-time wrestling rivalry is still in place. Nathan Schultz runs into the pole. Marcin Held, who threw everything but the kitchen sink at Nathan to get the win. And of course, Anthony Pettis, long-awaited debut with Clay Collard. Clay brings out the boxing prowess and some great striking. Pettis looked like he was going to come back in the third. It was amazing, but a little too late, a little too, just not quite enough, actually.
And Kenny, maybe the biggest star of the show in our first event was that man right there.
Yeah, absolutely. There were some amazing performances that night. But I tell you what, Brendan Loughnane really did steal the show. He was the only man to get a finish. There he is, getting Moraes up against the cage and unleashing a barrage of strikes, getting the knockout and leading the pack for the featherweights with 6 points. Unbelievable performance.
And there are our featherweight standings. You see top of the table for Brendan Loughnane. A first-round finish is good enough for 6 points, and at least for now, first place. In our lightweight division, a lot of really back-and-forth fights, close matchups, including that main event. Clay Collard surprises the world and gets 3 points. And how about that? Anthony Showtime Pettis holding on to the goose egg in our season. I tell you what, a big offseason signing. Anthony Showtime Pettis got upset in week 1. Similar storyline potentially emerging here tonight. Rory McDonald got signed by the PFL 18 months ago, and he finally makes his debut. Could it happen again tonight? What do you think, Randy?
Well, I think Rory McDonald's going to bring it. He moved to Florida to continue to train because things were so locked down in Canada. He loves his new camp at Sanford MMA. He's been working on a lot of new skills, great conditioning. He's a tenacious competitor, well-rounded fighter. I think he looked to get this fight on the ground to get the finish, and I like him in this fight.
And he'll bring another PFL newcomer into the cage with him, Curtis Millender. What do we know about him, Ken?
I'll tell you what, Rory McDonald, one of the best welterweights in the world, but he better be ready for this man, Curtis Millender, a fantastic striker, an absolute sniper at range. His goal is to keep this one on the feet. And he had a dream about not only facing Rory McDonald at one point in his career, he had a dream that he beat Rory McDonald. So he's been envisioning this for a long, long time.
There's an early look at our tail of the tape between these two gentlemen in our main event. That, again, is on ESPN2 tomorrow night. The card starts at 9 Eastern. There was only one finish at PFL 1, but these are the heavy hitters. In fact, the welterweights and light heavyweights combined in PFL action so far, 71% of those fights have ended in finishes. And a big reason for that are guys that are on the card tomorrow night, including a couple of welterweights, Kenny.
That's right. If you like finishes, you're going to love Ray Cooper and Joao Zeferino. Ray Cooper comes from a wrestling background, but don't be fooled. This guy loves to move forward like a juggernaut, and he does not stop until you are on the canvas sleeping. Loves to throw hands. And Joao Zeferino comes from that jiu-jitsu background, and he can certainly finish you on the ground with a choke or a leg lock or an arm lock. But I tell you what, look at that barrage right there. He is very dangerous on the feet as well.
And Randy, there is no finisher in the PFL like that man.
Emiliano Sordi, the Argentinian, he is on a five-fight finish streak. 4 of those fights, the last 4 in the first round. Can he continue the first round finishing streak in this season? He's on fire coming in from 2019 and 2021. I can't wait to see it.
We will see all of these gentlemen competing for regular season points on our ESPN2 fight card. There's one more look at it. 2 returning champs. A Brazilian rivalry. Rory McDonald versus Curtis Millender in the main event. You cannot ask for more than that. We'll take an early look at the odds here. How about Ray Cooper? Heavy betting favorite in this one. And for some insight on those odds, we bring in our gurus, the betting talent, the coach, I should say, Jonathan Coachman and Ian Parker. Fellas, educate me, please.
Sean, talent is a very loose term when you're talking about Ian and myself. But when you're talking about last Friday night, it was a dog-eat-dog world in the world of betting for the PFL, because certainly the underdogs came to play, and they came to fight to the tune of everybody seemed like they were catching. How about in the main event? That's where we started last night. Clay Collard, plus 400 over Anthony Showtime Pettis. How about Held, plus 285. Jenkins, plus 260. Martinez, plus 260. Manfio, plus 215. But Ian, the one thing we didn't see a lot of last week, and the guys already talked about it, was finishes, bonus points. The thing that's going to make a lot of these fighters, only 4 out of the 10, go to the playoffs. They need to be paying attention tonight. But let's go straight to our main event as far as the betting is concerned. Rory McDonald is a big-time favorite over Curtis Millender. How are you handicapping this fight?
Well, Coach, just speaking on last week, who would have thought that 2 champions would go down and Anthony Pettis would fall on the same night? Hopefully it doesn't happen this week. Rory McDonald, the Red King, comes over from Bellator, looking to make a statement in the PFL. In this fight against Curtis Millender, I believe he knows exactly what he has to do and get the fight to the ground against a really good striker in Curtis. Look for Rory to bring this fight to the floor and to win this by submission.
Yeah, you see that plus 250. That's a nice way to make it specific because his odds to win are just so long. But there are 3 other fights on the ESPN2 card. What are you looking to kind of parlay together to bring those prices down?
The first leg of that parlay, I'm going to stick with Rory McDonald. I'm that confident he gets the fight to the floor. He knows exactly what he needs to do. He spoke about it, and I believe it. He's been working on it. Look for Rory in that one. The second part, Ray Cooper III, the returning champ. Wrestler, but you would never know it. The guy throws hands, will take one to give one, and look for him to add another highlight finish to his PFL resume. Last but not least, another returning champ, and Emiliano Sordi, running a 5-fight win streak and finish streak. He will be fighting a very game-seasoned veteran, Chris Camozzi, but I would think his aggression, his striking, and his takedown defense will help him get another finish and to round out our parlay, Coach.
For those people at home that are brand new to MMA betting, when you see a big number like what Ian just said, like minus 625, this is the only way to bring those odds down unless you want to get specific. Now, coming up a little bit later on, Sean, we're going to tackle the ESPN Plus card, and we have some individual fight bets that I think people at home are really going to like. But for now, let's send it back to you, Cage Side.
Thank you very much. I got to say, Randy, Kenny, Parker gives us a parlay. Last week, the chalk got burned on the parlay, and because of that, I think I'm a bit more of a believer in the underdogs here in our second regular season event. Randy, what upset do you see brewing?
I think the most likely candidate for an upset tomorrow night is Chris Camozzi. Amazingly talented, a ton of experience for this entire group of fighters. So I think him against Sordi could be a very interesting one.
Kenny, one fight that looks pretty even on our ESPN2 card is that Brazilian rivalry.
Yeah, and I can see why. You know, Gleison Tibau has a great ability of stealing rounds. He's very good at utilizing his strikes to set up the clinch, getting his takedowns, winning round after round, and winning decisions. But João Zeferino, if there's a finish, it's probably going to come from him. He can get it done on the feet, and he can get it done on the ground as well.
That's our stacked ESPN2 card, 9 Eastern tomorrow. But preceding that will be this, ESPN Plus, 5 bouts at light heavyweights and at welterweight. Jordan Young is on his 3rd opponent for this, his PFL debut. Ashkar Mozharov steps in. Vinny Magalesh, unfortunately, unable to make weight on what was a short notice call for him. So Jordan Young now will face the Ukrainian. A quick look at the odds here. As I mentioned before, Antonio Carlos Jr. is a heavy favorite. You know, one to watch here on ESPN Plus is that one I just pointed out. Antonio Carlos Jr., the grappling specialist, as a minus 400 favorite. And, of course, Tom Lawler coming back to the cage for the first time in a while. Randy, what do you expect from Shoeface?
I really like Antonio Carlos Jr. in this fight. He's coming up from 185. He says not cutting the weight. He's got the energy. It feels like this is the best move for him, being up and not cutting so much. I'm looking forward to seeing him compete. He's got amazing submission skills. I look to see this fight on the ground and finish there.
Kenny, his opponent has been in the professional wrestling ring recently, but not in the cage.
That's right. You know, I could see this as a real advantage. Not only has he been able to heal up a lot of injuries that he's had over the years, but a lot of things can change over the course of 3 years for a fighter. So I think he's been working on a lot of his weaknesses. He is fired up. And Sean, you've been talking a lot about odds. What are the odds you wear a jacket next time? I mean, Mr. Cool Guy over here, what do you have, polka dot boxer shorts on there?
I got to tell you, the thing was all wrinkly. I had to get it pressed. Didn't get it back to me in
Randy
time.
and I look nicer than you. How's that?
That's always the truth. All right, that was our feature bout on ESPN+. But for more on how to bet the entire card, we go back to Coach and Ian.
Yeah, Sean, I had the same issues with Ian trying to get him to put a jacket on today, too. So we have small wins in this business. But there are people out there that say, Coach, Ian, I don't like to play a parlay. When we look at our odds, it's like minus 200 or above. We consider long odds. But, Ian, I want you to give me 2 fights right here, right now, that you're looking at individual bets that you like for the ESPN Plus card.
Well, let's start off with Cesar Mutante Ferreira. He is a great striker and a good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu everything. I believe he gets this fight to the ground on top. His opponent's a very good wrestler. If he can keep the fight at a distance, work his way down, I believe that Mutante gets it done. The second straight pick, Martin Hamlet. This guy is an absolute specimen of an athlete. His striking has come a long way. His wrestling, his slams. He might be the dark horse in this division. I actually love this play with Martin Hamlet.
All right, but we already talked about it for about 15 minutes now. Tons of underdogs cashing last week. So I said, you know what, Ian? You got to give me one dog, just one, that you think could cash on Thursday night.
Yeah, listen, out of all the underdogs here, I think the value is in Sadabusi, the striker out of Sweden. If he can keep this fight in the distance and control the pace and not allow his opponent to pressure him constantly throughout the 3 rounds, I think one of those body kicks lands. And at plus 185, I like Sadabusi here, Coach.
Yeah, let's remember that in the PFL, every single fight matters the same in this regular season format. But now, I want you to throw all the odds out the window and give me your 3 best bets that you feel most confident in for the entire night.
We are going chalky yet again and hope that the underdogs don't surprise us. Rory McDonald coming in against Curtis Melinder. I think he takes the fight to the ground and gets it done there. Ray Cooper III looking for another highlight reel knockout, and I believe him. He will get it done. And last but not least, shoot-face Antonio Carlos Jr. going up to 205 will look to take the fight to the ground and beat Tom Lawler by submission, Coach. And those are Parker's picks of the night.
We love to educate, but we also love to entertain. And if you want to be entertained on Thursday night, how about a little cross-card parlay where you take the one fight from ESPN Plus, you have a couple from the ESPN2, you stay interested the entire night, or you can just listen to Sean, Randy, and Kenny and be entertained as well. Sean, back to you.
Thanks again, fellas. And how about that? Ian Parker likes a couple of guys that I know you are familiar with, Kenny and Randy. Randy, we'll start with you. Cesar Ferreira. Ian Parker thinks he's going to win.
I have to agree. I'm excited to see Cesar Ferreira. He spent an entire camp with me getting ready for Lyoto Machida in my retirement fight. He's got a very well-rounded game. Great jiu-jitsu practitioner, long, rangy, great striker, capoeira background, and he implements that into his fighting style, which is very unique.
And Kenny, Martin Hamlet, he's the least experienced of all of our light heavyweights, but a dark horse in some people's minds.
That's right. Now, I didn't train with Martin Hamlet because I like my life, but this guy is a fantastic fighter, comes from that Greco-Roman wrestling background, so I know Randy will love that, but I tell you what, watch out for this kid's striking. He is very dynamic. He's a tremendous athlete, and he is definitely one of the dark horses.
The light heavyweights and the welterweights are finishers. You're going to want to be here on ESPN Plus and ESPN2 tomorrow night. And by the way, great fights on our second event of the PFL regular season, and you can get into the action for free. Tomorrow only MMA fans can play in a free PFL main event pool on DraftKings for a shot at $5,000 in prizes. Just download the DraftKings app, sign up with promo code PFL, and submit your picks to compete for $5,000 in prizes. One last look at what we are looking forward to tomorrow night. A stacked card on ESPN2. The Red King makes his long-awaited PFL debut, along with a couple of returning champions who just so happen to be heavy favorites in their own divisions. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern. At 5:30 Eastern, it'll be ESPN Plus. 5 unbelievable bouts featuring some newcomers and some old familiar faces, but all of these individuals seeking regular season points and potential finishes. How about that? Antonio Carlos Jr., the heavy favorite. Ray Cooper, you don't want to miss it. Rory McDonald, you don't want to miss it. Emiliano Sordi, you need to be here for it. ESPN Plus and ESPN2. Professional Fighters League action continues.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
We're doing this as the parlay, right, Coach?
No. This is just standalone. So I would
Just
say
standalone?
you're going to bet him to knock out, right?
Well, I don't have the prop for that, but that's how we're going to say it regardless, right?
Just say that, and then they can worry
Okay.
about the odds. Just say
Cool.
I'm betting him to have a KO.
Okay. Finish the fight within the distance. KO. Gotcha. I got all
Yeah.
that. Okay. That felt way better that time, by the way.
You were great. When you relax and have fun, you're great. Fantastic.
I wanted to make fun of Kenny for the pocket square since no one else is wearing one, but